Extreme weather events are becoming increasingly common and powerful in many parts of the world as a result of the climate issue. These catastrophic weather conditions, such as droughts, hurricanes, and floods, are pushing more people into dire poverty and famine. The climate crisis is making an already dreadful situation much worse at a time when there is a worldwide food crisis the likes of which we have never seen in modern history. How does climate change lead to hunger? Times like these have never been seen before. The frequency and severity of heat waves, droughts, wildfires, floods, storms, and other extreme weather events are increasing due to the warming of the planet and changes in weather patterns. A third of Pakistan was submerged in water due to flash floods last year, and millions of people were forced to the brink of starvation due to a catastrophic drought in the Horn of Africa. Extreme weather conditions force people to leave their homes, kill livestock, devastate critical infrastructure and farms, and frequently raise food costs. Communities are therefore cut off from reliable food supplies. Farmers are unable to raise crops, and households are left unable to afford even the most basic of dietary needs. What's worse is that as soon as towns begin to slowly heal, another climate-related tragedy topples them once more. These are the 8 nations and areas that are being severely impacted by the climate crisis. Number 1. South Sudan, floods and drought. South Sudan is one of the world's regions that is warming up the fastest, making it a frontline state in the climate emergency. The country is experiencing a temperature rise that is 2.5 times faster than the norm for the world. This has led to extreme weather conditions, such as 4 years of flooding in a row that have submerged half the nation. The climate crisis is engulfing South Sudan, which is simultaneously drying out and drowning at the same time. Unprecedented flooding has engulfed broad stretches of the nation, while other areas are dealing with terrible drought. Some people have experienced significant food shortages as a result of the floods, which has led some families to rely on wild foods like water lilies to survive. 7.7 million of the nation's 12 million residents, or 64% of the population, are severely hungry. The World Food Programme (WFP) of the United Nations provided aid to 1.1 million individuals in January 2023, including 800,000 flood victims. We are collaborating with local communities in Unity State to fight the invasive hyacinth weed, a species that obstructs streams and releases a lot of methane as it decomposes. The hyacinth weed is converted by the women of Unity State into fuel for cooking fires. Not only is this fuel sustainable and safe, but it also spares women the risky and lengthy journeys required to collect firewood. Number 2. Madagascar, cyclones, droughts and floods. The tropical cyclones Mnoti, Dumako, Batsirai, and Ana all made landfall in Madagascar in February 2022. Over 270,000 people are in urgent need of food assistance as a result of these storms, which also devastated infrastructure and decimated rice harvests only weeks from harvest. One of the most disaster-prone and food-insecure nations is Madagascar, which is located in Africa. Humanitarian aid is required for the over 2 million people in Madagascar who are suffering from extreme hunger. Madagascans had to consume locusts, uncooked red cactus fruits, and wild leaves to survive in the south, where the driest conditions in 40 years had compelled them to do so, with unique plant and animal species that aren't found anyplace else. Madagascar has made significant contributions to the global biodiversity. This is why the UN World Food Programme works to protect the environment and put natural solutions into practice, such as reforestation, to increase resilience against risks to their environment resulting from climate change. 155,000 people were engaged in a program to create assets in 2022. Number 3. Pakistan, floods. According to UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, Pakistan was slammed by monsoons on steroids from June to October of 2022. The national 30-year average was roughly 10 times higher than it was during this time period due to the amount of torrential rainfall that resulted in flooding and landslides. 800,000 animals were slaughtered. 4.4 million acres, almost twice the size of Connecticut, of agricultural land were devastated, and nearly 33 million people were affected by the floods. Increased levels of hunger and malnutrition in the nation were subsequently made worse by rising food prices. Since the floods in June, the number of people in Pakistan who are suffering from severe hunger has more than doubled to 14.6 million. Malnourishment rates are extremely high in Pakistan. 62% of children under the age of 5 are anemic. More than half of them have vitamin A insufficiency, and 40% are zinc and vitamin D deficient. In order to address these micronutrient deficits, the UN World Food Programme gives kids particularly nutritional foods that have been vitamin and mineral fortified. The UN World Food Programme is repairing the nation's groundwater systems and flood protection walls as part of the recovery effort from the monsoons, to withstand the summer monsoon rains and provide a continuous supply of clean drinking water. These assets will be strengthened once more. Number 4. Somalia drought. The Somalian drought doesn't seem to be getting any better. Rainfall has been insufficient for harvesting and maintaining animals throughout the past 5 rainy seasons. Due to this, practically all of the crops failed, and there were few walk possibilities in the rural areas. Every unsuccessful wet season makes it harder for households to recover from the crisis. 200,000 individuals in Somalia are suffering from the deadliest kind of starvation, which affects 5 million people there. The UN World Food Programme, which is the largest humanitarian organization in Somalia, has the resources and know-how to assist people being hit by the climate disaster. We provide people with the tools and knowledge necessary to defend themselves against potential dry seasons through our anticipatory cash transfers and early warning systems. In Bakul's Hudud and Wajir districts, this initiative has already assisted 117,612 people. Number 5. The Dry Corridor. Droughts, hurricanes and floods. The terrible repercussions of the climate catastrophe are being felt in the Dry Corridor, a region of Central America. Crop failures and forced migration are results of droughts, heat waves, and erratic rainfall patterns. Given that they are disproportionately impacted by the effects of the climate catastrophe, the situation is particularly bad for small-scale farmers and indigenous groups. Farmers in nations like El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala struggle to produce adequate food because of protracted dry spells and excessive rain. To make ends meet, many families have been forced to skip meals and consume less nutrient-dense food. In addition to selling tools and animals, El Salvador's farmers are steering the Dry Corridor toward a brighter future. 3 farmers in Kakaropara have used hydroponic technology to transform a barren patch of land into a verdant sanctuary with aid from the UN World Food Programme. The dry circumstances are no longer a barrier to their ability to grow fresh produce like bell peppers and chilies. Number 6. The Sahel. Droughts, wildfires and floods. The Sahel, an area that stretches across Africa from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea and includes Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, is suffering greatly as a result of the climate catastrophe. An increase in the frequency and severity of droughts has been caused by the region's rising temperatures and erratic rainfall patterns. Existing problems like hunger and poverty are being made worse by these shocks. There are currently 13 million individuals in the area that are severely hungry. Number 7. Chad. Droughts and floods. Chad saw the worst flooding in 30 years in the fall of 2022, according to UNICEF. 1,149,114 acres of cropland were destroyed, and more than 1 million people were affected. The UN World Food Programme increased its emergency activities in response and sought to assist 300,000 flood victims. The flooding and severe rains struck Chad at a very bad moment. The administration had only recently proclaimed a national food and nutrition emergency. Many people in the nation rely on farming and raising livestock to make a living. However, these livelihoods are unreliable as a source of food due to erratic rainfall patterns and periodic droughts. After the 2022 lean season, which is the perilous time between planting and harvest when economic possibilities are scarce, 2.1 million people were left severely undernourished. Number 8. Sudan, droughts and floods. Sudan is one of the nations that is most susceptible to climate change and fluctuation, according to the United Nations Environment Programme. Despite decades of droughts, erratic rainfall, dwindling water supplies, and widespread desertification, the nation has not seen a single moment of respite. Hunger is a problem in Sudan because of climatic shocks and conflict. Last year, recurring flooding ruined the planting season while communities were unable to access fields due to the conflict. Around twice as many people as New Jersey are believed to be seriously undernourished, 15 million individuals. Those most affected by the crisis are mothers and children. Acute undernourishment affects more than 4 million small children, expectant moms, and nursing mothers. Extreme weather phenomena are everywhere. We hope this episode spreads awareness to everyone. Please subscribe to Weather Collapse if you want to know more and be updated on the latest news about natural calamities or disasters happening all over the world. And don't forget to like today's video. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.